Welcome to 101 on God 101. Our guest today is Dr. Lynn Viscusi-Mancinelli, who is the owner of Brain Balance in Plainview, Long Island. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you for having me, Julie.
Now, today's episode, we're going to be discussing what can be done to defeat ADHD. And this is what you do for a living. So, and it's not about putting someone on medication. So I know you're a woman of God. You love helping people. Now, if I am battling ADHD or it exists in my family, what are the therapies that you employ that work?
Yes. So Brain Balance is a program that helps parents mostly, because everybody that comes here is really from the ages of 4 years old to about 22, 23 years old. There is an adult program, but really my career has been helping parents find another way to change their child's development without using medication, because they understand the scientific fact that using medication is not changing the brain and creating neuroplasticity, that it is a masking mechanism to get them through the day, and hopefully their brain is going to change on its own. This is the wait and see model, which really is a very poor way to go about it. So they come to me with already having tried medication, or they've tried the behavioral therapies that are out there. They've tried smaller schools. They've tried OT and PT and speech, and those methods were not getting the development that they really wanted and were hoping for. And the child is still suffering in school and at home, and making the lives miserable of everybody around them because they're struggling with ADHD. Yes, I know there are people that love their ADHD. You'll hear like a lot of people talk about, oh, I use it as my superpower. These are people that are coming to Brain Balance to get change and to make their life better, because it's not a superpower for them. It's absolute disruption in their lives.
So how does the Brain Balance program work?
Sure. So we assess the development of the child through physical means. So we see if there's primitive reflexes that are still there, that are not supposed to be there. Every baby's checked the first year of life for reflexes. Everybody knows the word rooting reflex and grasp reflex if you have a child, meaning that, are they sucking? So that's the rooting reflex. Are they grasping? That's the grasp reflex. There's other reflexes that are there to keep them alive for the first 12 months of life. And then they're then going to integrate to allow for the next level of processing speed to happen. And what happens in these children, everybody that comes into this door, once the assessment is done, we show the parent that these primitive reflexes have not gone away to allow the processing speed of the brain to build the way it's supposed to, in auditory processing, in vision processing, in fine and gross motor, and in balance. So, and the sense of smell as well. So the assessment shows the parent physically the root cause of what the child is experiencing in life, meaning that they have a 6-year-old body, but their brain is still stuck in a 3-year-old. So it really gives them a map on how to change the brain, to just recreate the development that didn't happen naturally. So the parent is involved with the therapy. It's not drop a pill in him or go into talk therapy. It's literally having the parent come into the sessions, watch what we're doing to change a child's processing speed. And then you're going to have a home program that's going to follow that. You're going to do that as well. You're going to be the coach at home, and you have a nutritionist to help you have brain building foods.
So when you talk about a grasp reflex, as a child, the reflex is to, start grasping,
Yes.
But we need to work it out so that when something touches, because I know there's an exercise where you do an X on the palm.
Correct.
It shouldn't have the reflex to grasp, and you work it out by literally doing this to
get rid of it. You have to integrate, it's called.
Okay.
Yes. So you're using the actual reflex to get rid of it. So that's what we would do in natural life. The child, they would be touching things, and they would be, sucking and eating. And these reflexes will then no longer be, they're called primitive reflexes, that keeps the child alive, right? You're an infant. You can't move around too much. You need other people to take care of you. So that is primitive reflexes that we all had as children, as infants. And then the next layer is when they can stand up on their own, their postural reflexes, right? Their bilateral coordination. You didn't teach them how to swing their arms. These are reflexes that allow them to have bilateral coordination. Their eyes are working together. They're able to differentiate sound. You're not teaching them that. Their brain already has this map, this roadmap to development. It's when this development is going off the rails that your nursery school teacher is going to be calling you and saying, hey, your little boy is not handling the pace of this classroom. He's melting down, or he's just, looking out the window. He's dazed. He can't grab, his pencil the way everybody's grabbing. There's all these little signs that everybody comes with, mostly every person that sits in front of me. And they think that the OT or the PT or the talk therapy is going to change the brain, and it doesn't. So they are ending up with me saying, I tried what I thought was the free stuff that schools give out, right, which is a package of an IEP, which allows the parent to think that there's people in the school that's changing their child's brain, and they're hoping and praying that these people know what they're doing, and they're not. Of course, they're very well meaning, but there's so many kids that don't get the actual developmental recipe that they're supposed to have. And the beautiful part of the Brain Balance program is the way it was developed. It was so smart. It was literally just taking pieces of all those therapies that they are disjointed and getting. They're getting a little auditory therapy here, a little vision therapy here, a little OT, a little PT, a little talk therapy, and nobody's talking to each other. So they're doing it in all different levels and different ages. And then it's messy, and it's not a coordinated program. If you teach the parent, it makes so much sense. Once the parent goes, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And it does. It just makes so much scientific sense that you can't unlearn it. Once you know it, you're just like, this is wild, amazing.
It's a one program coordinated effort using persons, all their senses. You touch
Yes.
on people, because then there's a component with smell.
Equipment.
And, yes, talk to us about the equipment, because you're literally strapping things on your brain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're trying to do, the assessment shows us which hemisphere. We have two hemispheres of the brain. And this is just very basic neurology, but there's two hemispheres of the brain. And then there's a superhighway in the middle. And both hemispheres have to talk to each other. This is how me and you are doing this right now. They're talking to each other, and they're keeping us regulated and allowing us to be without doing strange and odd things. So if they're talking to each other, and what happens is when the assessment shows us that there's more immaturity or less connectivity in one of those hemispheres, and then we use stimulations in vision and auditory and scent and vibration to bring up or make that connectivity more powerful and more mature. So we put glasses on that have certain colors and certain rhythms of light. We have certain sounds, certain music and tones. We have certain vibration that goes on, and we have scent that goes on either to the right or left hemisphere. So it's called a hemisphere model. It's a hemisphere model of therapy. So when people say, what does brain balance do? It's balancing the immature hemisphere, but it's connecting both the skills that allow both sides of the brain to talk. But it's very coordinated, and it's very data driven. So we make sure we see, okay, this auditory therapy is working at a 4-year-old level. This kid's 8, but he can only hear what a 4-year-old really can hear. The brain is only processing at a 4-year-old level. But his vision therapy, there's 4 or 5 different pieces of vision therapy. Oh, he really can't see peripherally, or his eye tracking is so slow. So everything is data driven, meaning what age that child is performing at. So you can have a 14-year-old, but have a 10-year-old brain, a 9-year-old, a 4-year-old brain in this child. So that's why he's acting out, and his school is calling, and he has no friends, and there's just so much problems at home. There's no executive functioning ability because the brain is stuck in an immature state. So we reorganize it.
What are some of the tests involved to figure out which hemisphere of the brain is slower, that needs to work?
So it comes from a group of things. So it's parent reports. How is this child functioning out in the world from the very beginning? How is this crawling? Well, first of all, we go even back to the pregnancy. How was your pregnancy? What type of toxic overload or stress you had during the pregnancy? How was the birth? And then starting from the sucking reflex, you're asking questions about, did they have their primitive reflexes, and then did they go away? So you're asking the parent and having them go through the development of the child. You're really just walking through brain development. They think we're talking about, life and behavior, but we're not. We're literally looking to see where it got stuck in development, and where it started going off the deep end. So we're looking for primitive reflexes to make sure that the primitive reflexes were there and are still there, or they actually aren't there, which is great, but the processing speed of all those other skills that weren't developing because of those primitive reflexes are delayed.
Okay. And then how does someone go about getting help for ADHD in themselves or in a family member? How do they?
How does it work? Like,
What's the first thing they do?
Coming to a brain balance? You mean just in general?
Yeah, I mean, your office exists in Plainview, Long
Yes.
Island, but if someone is not there,
Yeah. How does it work?
Yeah, what do they do?
So there's a virtual. So a lot of people. I have a lot of Canadians. I have a lot of people that are even just out all the way out east. I live in mid Long Island, and some people don't want to come. So there's a virtual program as well. So they'll just look up. It's usually a parent in the middle of the night searching disconnections, or odd behaviors and dysregulation. That's really what because they keep getting told that their child has ADHD, but they want to get to what is a disconnected attention deficit brain. What is actually happening? And then they find us. So finding us is the first step. Brain balance, Plainview, and deciding on, do you want to make the commitment to come in? Because everybody that comes here, they come 3 times a week for 1 hour. And then at home, they have to do it every single day. So we partner together to say, okay, this is the journey you want to go on. You're ready. You're ready to not have an immature child. Their brain is immature. It's stuck in an immature state. And I'm ready for this journey. I'm going to change the way the device time is in their house. I'm going to change the foods and making sure they have brain building foods. So the environment is a healthy environment as I'm trying to change the brain. So I give this child the best chance of being able to have a full life. A lot of people talk about, and even in the world of sports and in Hollywood, they don't glamorize it, but they say, oh, I have ADHD. That's how come I can do this. I was just reading last night before I was speaking to you just to see who was talking about it in a positive light. But really, if you read back, they all do say, I suffered as a child. I hated school. I had bad self-esteem. So the people who are out there saying ADHD is something to have, and it's a fun thing to have. Come and sit with me one day. I have 35 kids a day. That means 30 parents come in here, and the life of having their brain, having these immature and some of them have a lot of superpowers too, but there's such an immaturity to their other areas of their brain that they're not making it in the regular, schooling, whether it's a private school or whether it's a public school. A lot of them have to be homeschooled because they can't manage the academics and the social life together. They make poor decisions, or they ruin other people's lives by, being too loud, being too disruptive. And making poor decisions. So it's not a fun thing to have. So people are very desperate to find another way instead of taking a pill.
We have a minute left.
Sure.
What is the range of time where people will see success?
Change?
Yeah.
It literally could be within a 2-week period. It's frequent, right? And it's intense, but you can start integrating primitive reflexes, and they can slowly start becoming more regulated, becoming more coordinated, becoming just less overloaded. I had somebody that he was 5 years old. He was in a diaper. He couldn't feel his body. And within 2 weeks, the mother, it's one of my reviews on my Instagram, said, I could throw out diapers, or she donated them. I'm saving so much money within 2 weeks, but that's miracle. So it's not usually 2 weeks. I would say anywhere on an average within a month to 3 months, you're definitely going to see change. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for neurological change and regulation.
Where do people find you on Instagram for more?
Sure. Brain Balance, Plainview. And that's my Instagram, and it's also my email. And yeah.
We are just scratching the surface here. There is so much to discuss, but I hope this gave people an overview. to dive deeper and to get the help, because once you develop your brain, there's no going back. It's you're just operating at a higher level.
Well, that's the whole point. Oh, it's over. But the whole thing is neuroplasticity does exist. So you can change the brain. It's not a fixed. That's why we're doing it, right?
God bless you, Lynn.
Thanks, Julie. I'll see you soon.